In this video, I'm going to show you how to crochet 'Tis the Season Granny Square, this one right here. And for this video, you'll need your size H hook, your scissors, and a tapestry needle because we'll be changing colors after each round. So grab your first color and let's get started. For round one, I'll be starting this with a traditional granny square start, and my first color is Himalayan salt. You can choose any color you like, but that's the first one in my square. So I start off with a chain 4, and then I join with a slip stitch to form a ring. Now, if you prefer, you can use a magic ring and then just make sure that you tighten at the end of round 1. So here's my slip stitch to make the ring. And I'm ready for round 1. So for round 1, I like to start with a stacked single crochet. If you prefer, you can chain 3. But this blends into the texture of round 1 a little bit better. So to make a stacked single crochet, I insert my hook in the ring, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, pull through 2 loops. To finish it off, I insert my hook in the left vertical bar, yarn over, pull up a loop, yarn over, and finish off that top single crochet. So there's my stacked single crochet. To finish that first granny stitch, I'm going to work 2 more double crochets. And then chain 3 for a corner. And I'm going to do this a total of 4 times, granny stitch, chain 3. So I've worked the 4 granny stitches and the 4 chain 3 corners, and I'm ready to join. Simply going to work a slip stitch in the top of that beginning stacked single crochet to join the round. Now, because I am fastening off this color, I'm going to show you how I invisible join. And in this case, the invisible join simply means that when I'm finished, you won't be able to tell where that final loop is. All right, so the first thing I do is I cut my yarn. Then I take that yarn tail and pull it back out through the loop I just made. Thread it onto my tapestry needle. And because a lot of times this last loop gets pulled tight, I have to pull it back out. See, it's very short. So I want it to be the same size as all of the loops around it. So I pull that out. Sometimes I go a little bit too far, so I'll pull it back, and that matches what's around it. So to make the join, I skip this stitch and I insert my needle underneath the loops of the next stitch. Pull through until that side of the loop is about the same as the ones on either side of it. To finish that loop, I insert my needle back down through the original loop, through the center of it, and down to the back. Pull it through, and then adjust it so that that was a little bit tight. So I pull it back out just a little bit and then adjust it to make sure that that top loop looks like the ones around it. And you'll see that it matches what's around it. I'm not weaving in my ends right now. I'm going to come back and do that when I'm finished with the square. But anytime I do an invisible join, I go ahead and pull that yarn tail down through, at least down through the stitch below, so that it secures it and doesn't pull out as I work through the next round. So that is round 1. All right, for round 2, I'm going to pick up my second color, and in this case, it's Beaujolais. Again, you can choose whatever you like. And to start this round, we're going to start with a standing double crochet in any corner that we choose. So the first thing I do for a standing double crochet is make a slip knot, slide it onto my hook, and adjust that. All right, so I'm going to start with this corner right here. To do a standing double crochet, I hold that yarn tail against my hook, secure the slip knot so it doesn't move around, and then I yarn over as if I'm making a double crochet. Insert my hook in that space that I've chosen to work in and work a double crochet as usual. And there's my standing double crochet. To finish that first granny stitch, I'm going to work 2 more double crochets in that space. Then chain 3 for the corner. And granny stitch again in that same corner. All right, so that's what every corner is going to look like. Granny stitch, chain 3, granny stitch. I'm going to skip the next stitch and work a front post double crochet around the middle stitch of that granny stitch below. Make sure as you're working it to pull those loops up to the level of the other stitches around it so it doesn't pull your square. And there is the front post double crochet. So then I skip the next stitch, and in the next space, I work that same granny stitch. Then chain 3 and granny stitch again in the same space. So this makes my second corner. And for round 2, I'm simply going to repeat what I just did. In the center stitch of each granny stitch of the round below, I'm going to work that front post double crochet. So I'm going to finish up round 2 and show you the end. All right, as you can see, I've worked all the way around. I've worked my corners. I've worked that front post double crochet in between the corners all the way around, and here's my last one. So all I have to do is join with a slip stitch to that beginning standing double crochet, and I'm going to finish this off the same as I did round 1 with an invisible join. All right, so I'm just going to make sure that my loop is consistent with the ones around it. Skip that stitch underneath the next loops, pull it through, then through that center of the original loop, and our invisible join is finished. So I'm going to thread that down through just to secure it for now. And that is round 2. For round 3, I'm going to pick up my third color, which in this case will be tourmaline. And I'm going to start this round exactly the way I did round 2. I'm going to pick a different corner though, so that I offset those ends to weave in. So I make that slip knot again, put it on my hook, secure the end and the loop, and then make a double crochet in the space I've chosen. So to complete that first granny stitch, I make 2 more double crochets. Chain 3. And granny stitch again in that corner. So my corners will all be the same. Granny stitch, chain 3, granny stitch in round 3. All right, to go across the side, I'm going to skip the stitch after the corner and work a front post double crochet around the next stitch. And just a reminder that you bring those loops up to the level of the other stitches so that you don't pull your square inward. I'm going to skip the next stitch, and in that stitch where I did the front post double crochet in round 2, I'm going to work 3 stitches. So first I'm going to work a double crochet. Then I'm going to work a front post double crochet around the same stitch. And here's where it's really important that I pull those loops up to the same level. Finish that off. And then the third double crochet in that group is going to be worked in the same stitch that I worked around and that I worked the first double crochet in. So you have to pull all of that forward and work in that loop there in the same stitch. Then I skip the next stitch, front post double crochet around the next stitch, skip the stitch before the corner, and I'm going to work another granny stitch, chain 3, granny stitch in the corner. All right, now that I have that corner finished, I'm going to show you once again how to work those stitches across the side because it's a little bit unusual. So I skip this stitch after the corner, front post double crochet around the next stitch. Front post double crochet around the next stitch. I skip the next stitch, and around that front post double crochet that I worked in the previous round, I'm going to work 3 stitches. First, a double crochet in the top of it. Then a front post double crochet around it. And then another double crochet behind the front post double crochet and in the same stitch as the first double crochet, and that is here. Skip a stitch and work a front post double crochet around the next stitch. Skip the stitch before the corner and work the next corner. So this is what it's beginning to look like. I have 3 front post double crochets across the side, and those extra double crochets in the same stitch keep my side even and the right length. All right, I'm going to finish around, and I'll show you how to finish off at the end of round 3. All right, I've worked everything around. I've got 3 front post double crochets on each side. My corner spaces are complete. All I have to do is join with that slip stitch to the top of the standing double crochet like so. And once again, I'll change colors by fastening off and doing my invisible join. And that is the end of round 3. For round 4, I'm going to pick up my 4th color, and in this case, it's peacock. And I'm going to, again, start this round with a standing double crochet. And I'll choose this corner to start. All right, so there's my standing double crochet. I work 2 more double crochets to finish that first granny stitch. And in round 4, we're only going to do chain 2 corners because of what's coming up in round 5. So for this round, only chain 2 in the corner, and then finish that up with another granny stitch. All right, so in this round, basically what we're trying to achieve is alternating double crochets with front post double crochets. So in order to do that, there's an interesting way of working them that makes that work out. So the first thing I'm going to do is skip the stitch after the corner, and in this next stitch, I'm going to work a front post double crochet. And in that same stitch behind it, a double crochet. Skip a stitch and work a front post double crochet around the next one. Skip the next stitch and work in this stitch the double crochet, front post double crochet, and behind it again work that same stitch, another double crochet. I'm going to skip the next stitch, work a front post double crochet around this one, skip the next stitch, and around this stitch, the first thing we're going to do is work a double crochet, and then around the same stitch, a front post double crochet. And then skip a stitch and we are at the corner. All right, let me show you what that looks like. Okay, so here is the corner. We did a front post double crochet, front post, double crochet, front post, double crochet, front post, double crochet, front post. So you can see that we've alternated. It's a little hard to see with this dark color, but what we've done is we've alternated across by working some in the same stitch and some separately. If you need to see me work that again, just rewind to where I start this side and you can see how I work those stitches across the side. So what I'm going to do is finish up round 4 and I'll meet you at the end. At the end of round 4, just make sure that you've joined the beginning standing double crochet with a slip stitch and finished off the color with your invisible join. For round 5, which is the 5th and final round of our square, Pick up your 5th color, which in this case is ivory, and we're going to choose any chain 2 corner space to attach our yarn to. The way I attach my yarn is really simple. I just pull it through, do a simple knot just to secure it, and I'm ready to go. So for this first corner, I'm going to pull my yarn through, chain 1, and do a single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. And then I'm simply going to work a single crochet in every stitch across. All right, when I get to the next corner, I simply work that same corner I did at the beginning, which is the single crochet, chain 1, single crochet. And to finish up my square, I'm simply going to work every single crochet across the side with that single crochet, chain 1, single crochet in the corner to end up looking like this. Now, if you find that your square has turned out a little bit pulled, this particular square benefits from blocking. It doesn't need to be blocked to a larger size. It just needs to be blocked so that all of these front post double crochets that you've worked relax and let the square lay flat. So I highly recommend that you block this square.